All right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to IOOGO Sessions. I'm not Christy, and I am Josh Albayero. I am the founder and COO, CEO. I'm sorry, CEO of IOOGO, and I am actually filling in for Christy today, who's a little under the weather, but she will be back with the next episode of IOOGO Sessions. Today's episode is a very very exciting episode for all of us because and it should be for you as well if you're a business owner. We are talking about cybersecurity today, and it's important for us to know how to protect our data, networks, computers. We hear it all the time, right? On how companies are, large companies are vulnerable to hacker attacks and things of that nature, right? So imagine small businesses. So to help us understand cybersecurity and the concept of it, I've invited a very good friend of mine, an IT expert with more than 2 decades of experience in the field of information technology. So I can't wait for you to meet him. But before we do that, remember to join our conversation in our small business hub on LinkedIn. So we have created a hub thinking about you, the small business owner, right? So you are our inspiration, and we want to get this conversation to grow, and we want to make sure that we're boosting those ideas, and we're boosting those small businesses who are the backbone of the economy. All right, well, let me introduce to you our special guest. I am talking about Esteban Blanco. He is the Chief Geek Officer, the founder of Blanco IT Consulting. Esteban is very, very, very involved in the community, and he's a strong advocate for all small businesses in Texas and everywhere in the United States. He's also a professional vocalist with a passion to travel, and he currently lives in Texas. And his dog Madison, which I haven't had a chance to meet yet, he loves his dog a lot. And anyway, so he promotes the empowerment of people through example, hard work, and education. And in Stefan's own words, his top priority is to empower people to get involved, work hard, and pursue their dreams. Very hard worker. I love this man. I love talking to him all the time. We have been very good friends for a while. So Esteban runs a consulting firm, as I said before, Blanco IT, and Blanco IT serves the technology needs of businesses and individuals, right? So without any further ado, here it is. Here he is. Esteban, how are you?
I'm doing great, Josh. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I had to make sure that we had a very long introduction for you because you're a very, very detailed introduction for you, because this is something that I was actually hoping to watch this episode, because there's so much good thing, good stuff, that we can talk about, and I wanted to be a listener more than the interviewer, because of the importance of this, right? But you know what? Life changes, and we have to roll with it. So I have to now interview you and ask you all the tough questions, right? So before we get to do that, right? Let's tell me a little more about you, and what did I miss anything in the introduction?
No, you did great. Like you said, I'm the Chief Geek Officer for Blanco IT. We're a company based out of Arlington, Texas. Our focus is being a managed service provider for small businesses and homes. Our focus is always to, if you have a small business and you do not want to, have to pay somebody a full-time salary to have IT in-house, you call us and we'll take over all that technology needs that you may have. We do everything from, fixing a computer at home to, 60 computers for a big law firm. It's what we do. And we also do provide services of virtual CIOs. So if a company has an IT staff, but they don't have a CIO, we can go in and actually manage that, help them figure things out, work with them on how to, implement things, because I come with about 20 years of experience. I'm almost 21 years of experience in the industry. I worked from everything from public sector in school district to private sector to a municipality and to a Fortune 500. So I've done the gamut of business out there in the IT industry. So I've seen very small shops to massive IT infrastructure with data centers and things of that nature. So we, like you said, I'm a professional vocalist. I came to the United States in 1997, invited by the group Celebrant Singers out of California to join them and sing for them. And I had the privilege of traveling all over the United States and many countries around the world singing. And when I got off the road, my best friend, Danny, asked me, "What are you going to do?" And I said, "Well, I don't know." And he said, "What about IT?" And I said, "What is IT?"
Yeah.
And we started a process of learning. He was going to school to become an IT consultant. And so we began a process of studying together and learning. And when I moved to Texas, I got my first job in the IT industry by chance, because I raised my hand at a meeting and asked the IT guy a question that I guess he had not thought about, and that fixed the problem that they were having. And so I was promoted that day to go to a different school, and instead of being a special ed aide, I became a campus technician for Irving High School. Nice. And that's where my career in the IT industry started. And I'm very honored to be here today. I get to do this often. I do webinars also with Intel and Dell Corporation, Dell Computers, and I'm also on the advisory board for the CompTIA ISAO, which is the Information Sharing and Analysis Organization, which main focus is cybersecurity. And so we have chief security officer for Dell. We have people from big names in the industry and security. And I'll never forget my first meeting with them. I thought to myself, I'm the least smart person in the table right now. Everybody's much more accomplished in the industry than I am in this table. But regardless, I'm honored to be there and assist literally the world right now with this project to get cybersecurity under control as best as we can.
Oh yeah, it's such an important topic, and some people don't understand the importance of it until it happens to them, right? So or simply because they just don't understand what it really is, right? People hear sound bites on TV or and just don't really understand, which takes me to my first questions, right? What's cybersecurity all about, right? What because we always hear about it, we all hear terms, but what is it?
That's a broad term, right? Cybersecurity is everything from the hardware that you implement on your ecosystem to make sure that your hardware inside of that, past that firewall, for example, is protected. So you're going to have cybersecurity with hardware. You're going to have cybersecurity with software inside of that firewall with antivirus. You're also going to have cybersecurity with patching systems, making sure that everything is patched from the vendor when they send a new firmware, when they send a new software release for drivers. Also, cybersecurity can be education, teaching your employees what to do and not to do, and what to click on and what not to click on. And so, like I said, cybersecurity encompasses a lot of things. It could also encompass what's called pen testing, which is a professional what's called a white hat hacker being hired to go to a company and say, try to penetrate our network, try to make sure that we're secure, and that hacker gets paid a lot of money, frankly, to go in there and just hammer the network until he goes, well, there's a hole here, and we need to patch it, And so that's again a very broad explanation of what cybersecurity is, but frankly, cybersecurity starts with all of us. Every employee and every person that has a device, be it a laptop, desktop, a smartphone, an email address, everybody that has anything like that's part of the cybersecurity ecosystem that we have to think about.
Yeah, and my first exposure, because I was one of those individuals who, I knew cybersecurity was important. Just, it wasn't my place, to really, and it still isn't, right, to really focus on what I needed to do, but I knew it was important, right? So it wasn't until we started developing the IRS systems that the IRS said, hey, you need to know more about this, right? And to your point, right, it's not just some technology term, right? There are simple steps as to what to click or what not to click, right? And the education that you do. So I think you hit it right in the nail right on the head. It's so important, right, that our employees know that it's as easy as clicking on the wrong thing to have allowed someone external to come in and hurt our system. So how can someone become a proactive player in cybersecurity? In terms, I think this is more in terms of in your company, right? Because we talked about the employees, right? And I know what I'm supposed to do, right? But how can my employees become more proactive?
Being proactive with cybersecurity starts with education, Josh, is ensuring that your employees know what to do and not to do. One of the things that Blanco IT offers to their clients at no cost is we'll do once a year, we can do a lunch and learn, where you go and buy lunch for your employees, and we'll come in and give a talk about cybersecurity and what to do, what not to do. Unfortunately, this is a very evolving, all moving target. It's hard to keep up with it, frankly, because the hackers out there, they are very, very, very crafty. They're extremely intelligent, and they know how to exploit things. And so being proactive, frankly, in my opinion, means that you do everything within your power and, frankly, legalities of, if you have cyber insurance, to ensure that you have done everything that was industry standard to prevent a hack, okay? And what does that mean? That means having a proper firewall on your network. That means having, if you have employees that are connecting remotely, proper VPN security or a secure VPN connection tunnel to enter your network only by that person and not a shared username and password. I'll never forget a few years ago, going to an office, and I said, how do you guys connect to your network? And said, well, we have one username and password everybody uses. And I'm just,
wow.
those things make my ears bleed, because I'm just no, we have to be able to audit if something happens. We have to be able to audit who was the one person that came in and how they got in.
You're like, so, what's the password? Welcome one.
Right. Password one ! With a capital P.
Right.
So you have that, right? That the proactivity is having the right hardware, make sure that you have the right antivirus, web protection on the endpoints. And that doesn't, we hear this all the time. Oh, we have Macs, they don't get hacked. Yeah, they do. Believe me, we clean them all the time. It's having that software, that firewall, that education, making sure that if you have an email system, that every employee has to use two-factor authentication.
Yeah.
Any system that you have that allows you to have two-factor authentication, enable it. Why? Because and I'm of the opinion that if you are the target, there's really very little we can do to stop it. Okay.
Right.
We can put as many pieces of software, firewall software inside the firewall and everything to stop them. But I'm of the opinion that if you're the target, there's a very good likelihood that they can get in, because if they can get into the NSA, they can get into Equifax, which has they have multi-million-dollar security budgets. They can get through our stuff. But again, it's when you make that claim with your insurance, or if you were to get sued by one of your clients because of that breach, is proving and showing that we did everything within the industry standards to prevent as much as we could.
Yeah. So it's not, it's not all the time about you being able to stop it, but you being proactive, right? And I think that's extremely, extremely important. So I just want to remind our viewers that if you have any questions for Esteban, just feel free to drop them on, whether you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, or LinkedIn. Just drop your questions. We don't answer accounting questions on this podcast, on this cast. This is about cybersecurity. And with that being said, Esteban, let me ask you this. Let's make this a little fun. Tell me a story you have, like one of those scary stories about cybersecurity that you know of, or you've been involved in, and things that can actually relate to to our viewers, right?
Right. We see this very often. An email comes in that has the Dropbox logo, and they craft this very, very good looking email that has reset password here, or click here to view your file. And then we ask the question, were you expecting that email? No. Then why did you click on it? But I'll tell you a story that I actually heard from an FBI agent when I was at a cybersecurity conference once. And this is probably one of the scariest stories. I'll tell you two stories that I heard in that conference. The first one was a woman hacker that she went on stage, and she said, I can get, she asked this gentleman, in the front, he said, would you be a guinea pig for this? And he said, yes. So he went up on stage with her and said, she said, who do you have for your wireless service? And so he told her the company. And so she went over on the web, and she knew his name, of course, because he had just told it to her. And she went online and found the 800 number to the wireless service provider. And then she queued up on YouTube a baby crying. Okay. Oh. And so this woman called the wireless provider, which I don't want to say the name because I don't want to get sued, but
right.
The wireless provider. And she started talking to customer service and told them a sob story about her husband dying, and that she did not know his social security number, and then queued up the baby crying. And so there's this blaring baby crying noise in the background. She's sobbing on the phone. I mean, this woman could cry on cue. And I thought to myself, you should be in Hollywood, not hacking people.
Right.
And within 10 minutes, this dude provided all the information to her over the phone.
Wow.
My jaw dropped when I saw that, because whether the employee made a mistake and did not follow procedure, all that was irrelevant. The problem was that the employee for this provider gave a completely unknown person all the information. So people have this idea that hackers are sitting in a basement with a hoodie and it's really dark. They're just doing that. That's not the case. They'll do stuff like that. They're going to call you about your extended warranty. They're going to call you and tell you that the IRS has a lien against you.
Oh yeah.
And also they're going to work just like you and I do, and they go to a building, where they live, either in Russia or China or North Korea, wherever they're working, and they're going to go to work. They're going to take a lunch break like everybody else, and they're going to work in hacking. The second story was I think even more scary for me because of the amount of money that was lost. This was a $40 million loss to that business. Wow. They were able to hack into the CEO's email through the web. 1, password was weak. 2, he did not have two-factor authentication. Oh. We see this all the time. The CEOs of companies that are perhaps not, of the younger generation,
right?
They want to have that password 1 exclamation point on their email, because they don't want to have something complex. So they were able to hack his password. But when they started reading his emails, they realized that this was a big fish. And so what they did, and this is the FBI agent telling the story. Of course, I was not part of this, but an FBI agent told us this.
Right.
They sat on the email for 6 months, just reading and watching how he wrote emails, watching how the business dealings that he was doing.
Patiently, huh?
Patiently. Yep. And so they actually figured out that he was going to Chile. and him and his family were gonna go to Chile, and they were gonna go to the Andes, and they were going to be absolutely incommunicado for about a week. Okay, and so they waited for him to fly, calculated when he was in Chile, sent an email to the CFO of the company, and said, for the deal that we're working, let's just say with Blanco IT, we told them that we're going to do a transfer of 20 million. I told them I'm going to do a transfer of 20 million on Monday and 20 million on Wednesday. Please send it to this bank account. CFO did not question it. Why? Because it came from his email. It was not an email account. It was the CEO's email address. By the time they realized the money was gone, it was too late. Because once they transferred the money, they just bounced it throughout the world. 40 million
gone.
Gone.
Wow.
Gone.
Yeah.
So those are things that, again, it didn't take somebody in a basement hacking you. All it took is for them to sit there and watch his email, realize this guy actually has, because they were able to figure out his flight plans, because guess where the itinerary came to? His email.
Yeah.
And so those are two stories that I can tell you that have happened. We've also had situations, of course. We've been very fortunate, and I knock on wood that we haven't had a major breach yet. But we've had breaches where they've gotten into email servers, and we've had to take them out, or they have tried to inject something into a computer or into a system, and we've been able to catch it and stop it. But yeah, those are some horror stories that are out there, and this is very common nowadays, unfortunately.
It's what I said earlier, that people don't take it seriously until it happens. Right now, I guarantee you that CEO now believes in security more than ever, right? It's scary stuff, right? So and I think the scarier part of all to me is that it could be the person next to me, right? It's not this guy wearing the hood, with the what is that guy called with the mask? I can't remember what's his name.
Anonymous.
Anonymous. There you go. It's not anonymous, but it could be someone someone as normal as you and I, right? So we do have a question. Is there a substantial difference between OS security? I got it right here. OS security, iOS, Android, Linux, Windows, etc.
No, I mean, Victor, that's a very good question. I mean, you're mentioning all operating systems, okay? Every operating system, be it iOS, Android, Linux, or Windows, they're all going to have vulnerabilities. It's just the way, when you're developing and your developers are putting an operating system together, they're going to have, it's not one developer developing the whole thing. They're going to have groups of people developing and putting pieces together to where they can put the whole package together and send it out. And so I, for one, don't see a massive difference between all of them. I think that we hear more about Windows, and that's because we have more Windows machines in the wild. And so, people have the perception that Windows always get hacked, but iOS can get hacked. We've seen Linux get hacked. We've seen Androids, really, because I think Android is probably a little less secure than iOS because Apple has a very strict, it's open. Apple has a very, very strict policy on how, when you submit software or your development of the app, you got to submit it to Apple, and Apple actually goes through every line of code. And if there is a concern that they see, they'll send it back to you. Where with Android, you submit it and it's on the on the Google Store, pretty immediate. And like I said, Windows being in the wild, that it's most businesses and people have a Windows machine. You hear more about that, but just recently, Apple had to release a pretty large security update for a pretty good hole that they had in their iOS and Mac OS system.
Yeah, and to your point, right, this is an evolving thing, right? What used to be, I remember 5 years ago, maybe longer than that, I used to hear that Apple, buy an Apple because they're unhackable, right? Buy a Mac, they're unhackable, and things changed, Let me ask you this: what about website security?
Yep, that's another one. Every website should have what's called an SSL certificate. If in it should be transferring the data through the transfer protocol secure, so HTTPS, right? Depending on what kind of website you have, you really want to make sure that you're patching everything. If you're using something like WordPress, one of the heartburns that I have with WordPress is that you're using different pieces of code developed by different people, right? And so you have, one of the widgets that you use for that WordPress site, the developer may not have patched that hole, and then you have that one hole there. So imagine there's actually companies out there, one that we've used in the past called Security, that their entire livelihood revolves around keeping websites secure. You can put antivirus on a website. You can put malware protection on a website. And so if your website has any type of identifiable information, anything that would be, quote, hackable, that people can get to, it's good to have that on your website. Also, there is an aspect to this about reputation.
Right.
It's not a good look when somebody goes to your website and there's a Viagra ad that pops up.
Absolutely.
And so that's a reputation thing too. And so if they want to do business with you, and I remember I did business with a health insurance agent once upon a time, and realized that they were on Windows 7 when Windows 7 was no longer supported by Microsoft. Well, wow. I moved my business out of there immediately because my information now was risk. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And so those are the things that you always have to look for.
No, I mean, it's as I'm thinking and I'm listening to you, I look at certain things that we as entrepreneurs, we want to fully understand. We want to, stick our hands in it, but I have actually learned, my limits in certain things, right? And when it comes to technology, cybersecurity, or anything, related to that, I know enough to have this conversation with you, but I'm not going to say, hey, let me do it myself, right? For several reasons. One, I don't have the time, right? I just don't. I either run my business or I become, an IT professional, a cybersecurity expert professional, which takes years and years of studying and experience, right? And this is why, as business owners, right, we need to understand that some things are better off. You get to a point when you say, okay, I'm okay. I can install an antivirus on my computer, right? But once your business starts growing and you start talking about networks and, several workstations and a bunch of moving parts, right? That's not the time when you want to say, hey, let me stop my job as a CEO of my company and let me go do this. Let me go make sure that everything's secure, right? I feel like there's even some legal challenges with that, right? I mean, when you were talking about, did you do enough, right, to protect your clients? Then the question to me, as I'm thinking about it, I question and I say, hey, am I doing the right thing by not letting go? Right. And by trying to learn as I go and putting my customers' data, exposing my customer data, right? Just because I don't want to hire someone else, or because I want to, wear all the hats at all times.
Well, and there is a cost aspect to that, right? Also, so you have cybersecurity, unfortunately, is not cheap. You could go to Best Buy and buy antivirus software. Well, that's good maybe for your home, but for your business, you have to have something that is more robust and more comprehensive. You really want to have monitoring on all the endpoints. You want to make sure that we have the ability to shut something down remotely. Those are things, and see, I hear this all the time, Josh. I hear companies small, they go, we're this big. Who wants this stuff? They do. They do. I'll never forget talking to a client that dealt with very much identifiable information. They're a funeral home, and they at first was like, why do we need a firewall? I'm like, well, you have gold, you have dead people's information. And so we moved their systems to the cloud to where it's secure over there. And then, make sure that the internal equipment is nice and secure as well. It's just, this is a never ending battle.
Oh, yeah.
I can tell you that I get daily, and I'm not exaggerating, 10 to 15 emails about new attacks, things that are in the wild right now. There is a website that you can actually go on. There is an interactive map that shoots a little line every time a hack starts or happens, and it is overwhelming to watch.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So let me ask you this now that you're talking about some of this wild things, right? Something really wild happened this week, right? And it was so you can relate this to the interview prior to it, the day before, if you want. I'm not an expert, I don't know, but I'm gonna ask you, what do you think? Was Facebook hacked? What happened there? It's an opinion, right?
My opinion, yes. I'm not, of course, the viewers don't know me well, but you know me well enough to know that I'm not a conspiracy theorist of sorts. They're in the middle of talking with this whistleblower, and then not only Facebook went down, their entire systems worldwide went down. Now, Facebook has said that it was a propagation issue with DNS. I'm sitting here thinking again from my Fortune 500 days of, if one data center went down, you just load balanced everything and moved it to, shut down that data center and all traffic from that data center out. And then you have the other data centers online. Facebook does not have two or three data centers. Okay. They have hundreds of them spread through the entire world. So when I see a tweet, ironically enough, a tweet, from Facebook's Twitter account saying we are experiencing issues with some users, but you're looking at Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, and all of the entire ecosystem of Facebook being down worldwide, it begs the question, what happened? I'm sure that they're doing plenty of RCAs right now and on that, and the root cause analysis of what happened. Will they tell us what happened? We'll get a version of what happened, but I'm sure that either somebody made a massive mistake in their networking team.
They didn't pay the AWS bill.
I don't even know that. I think they host everything themselves.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
So I don't know, Josh. It seems to me like it's too coincidental. But I also feel like it could have been the DNS. I mean, without DNS, there's no internet. Yeah. And so if their DNS goes down, but again, you have different DNS servers for different parts of the world. So how did that propagate is that quickly is beyond me. But again, I was not in the inside. But yeah, those are the kind of things that you see. We've heard about the SolarWinds hack. Mm-hmm. We've heard about the Kaseya hack that happened recently. Years back, we've heard about Target.
Right.
And Target was, if you knew how Target got hacked, you're sitting there going, wait, that one device cost that multi-billion-dollar hack?
Yeah.
It's pretty scary. But yeah, what happened with Facebook is certainly an interesting thing that I would be curious to get the root cause analysis and understand the technical aspect of that.
But I mean, like you said, if it happens to them, right? Even if it was not a hack attack, then the complexity, right, of their systems, right? The complexity, if it happens to them, who have hundreds of employees dedicated to security and technology, then imagine what happens to us, right? And that's I am no longer of the belief that let me go and open our systems, and see what I can find, right? I have grown up as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, and I know that there's a reason why there are professionals, right? This is why when I talk to people about tax and accounting, I say, do you want your business to grow? Then you need to stop being an accountant, right? And dedicate yourself to what you really do, right? Always pay attention to your business, to your numbers, but, don't stop being an accountant. Same with, IT and security, right? Security, you need to stop thinking as a small business owner and really focus as to what your vision is, right? And wearing all the hats is going to get in the way of your grand vision. So I have two questions here. Can we throw them up? One is, hi, Esteban, what study background is required to start a career in the IT industry?
Gerardo, it depends on what you want to do, right? Because the IT industry is very broad. If you wanted to go into the security aspect of things, I know community colleges have classes that you can take, and you can actually get a bachelor's degree from a university that focuses on cybersecurity. I can tell you that certifications are very important to employers. Employers want to see that not only you have the book knowledge, but you also have some knowledge on the certifications and actually how it works. But that is all book smart stuff, right? You can study for a test and pass that test and then get your certifications. When I hired people, I remember one time interviewing this guy that had all these certifications and, a master's degree and everything. And I told him, I said, well, how much experience do you have? He goes, well, I have about 1.5 years. And I said, come with me. And I took him into one of the data centers and I turned on a server that I knew was broken. And it started doing, this beeping sound, this very specific beep code. And I said, what does that mean? He said, I have no idea. I said, see, I need somebody that knows what that beep code is, because every 5 minutes we're down costs $30,000. And so experience is a must. Most people in the industry are going to start like me. They're going to start on the help desk or, junior type of security analyst. And then you just start growing. And the more you study, the more you read online, the more you keep up with what's going on. It's the best way of doing it. But to get into the IT industry, it just takes time. It takes time and effort. In my experience, anyway. I don't have a bachelor's degree in it. What I have is a bunch of certifications, and again,
experience.
20 years of experience.
That's important. Very relatable to taxes, right? It's here is the certification, or here's the degree, but by the time you left the school, right, the IRS has already decided to change 10 different things, right? And then the court has decided to change the opinion of the IRS and stuff like that, right? So it's experience is important. One last question, and then we'll wrap it up. Esteban, what do you think of the new iOS 15 privacy updates? Is there a feasible benefit for small business employees?
Now, see, I cannot answer that question because I have not looked at iOS 15 yet. But what I can do, though, is I'll be happy to give you my email address and send me an email. And once I can go through all those privacy updates, I'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you about that. Fortunately, we've been very, very busy, and I have not upgraded to iOS 15 yet because I do not have time for something to break. And so I have not done the update. I usually speaking, I leave once a new operating system comes out, whether it's Windows or Mac or iOS, I give it a little time to see what breaks, and then the developers are going to go push new updates. And so I usually give it a little time and make sure that the apps that I have on my phone that are business apps, like my timekeeping software and things like that, are compatible with that. But I'll be more than happy to give you that right now. Is contact or support, either one, support at blancoit.com. Send me an email and I'll be more than happy to have a conversation with you offline.
All right. Well, we've come to the end of our session. Esteban, this was awesome. This was great. I was so excited that, I'm so excited that we did it, and that, you agreed to participate. We're going to bring you back again because we only scratched the surface. This is a important conversation that I feel like we need to continue to have. And how can people find you? They want to know more about you.
Yeah, they can go to www.blancoit.com. That's blancoit.com. And they can get a hold of us there. We'll be more than happy to have conversations with all the viewers, and phone conversations about, what their concerns are, anything that we can do to either start them thinking about this, or asking the right questions to their current IT provider. Or if you don't have an IT provider and you would like us to take a look at your stuff, doesn't matter where you are in the United States, we can still do it. So we're happy to help in any way we can.
Awesome. Well, Esteban, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right. To our viewers, let's just remember that the IOOGO Business Hub on LinkedIn, right? It's there for you. We put a lot of information there that helps you not only with cybersecurity, taxes, accounting, but just overall business, right? So there's that's a growing group we have created for the small business community in the United States. So very, very excited to have you join. And also, don't forget, next week, or the next episode, we're going to be here and we're going to talk about small business law. And we're going to have Kyle Kurtz, who is the founder and a very, very experienced attorney. And we're going to talk about, Christy will be back, and, we'll talk about the importance of staying compliant while you customize your business, right? So business law, very important. We'll see you next time. Thank you for joining us.